record this. Okay. Well, I just want to say good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Happy almost Friday. Just wanted to welcome you to the College of Chemistry's first year Experience for Freshmen panel. Also wanted to say congratulations on your admission to Berkeley. We're really excited for you and happy to be chatting with you today to give you a little bit of a snapshot of what your first year may look like here at Berkeley. Just wanted to let you know, my name's Khurshid. I'm a college advisor, and my colleague Shamaya is here. Shamaya, if you want to introduce yourself, that'd be great.
I do. And we can, did we record yet? We should probably record, right?
Yeah,
Did we record?
We're recording.
Okay, good. So I'm Shamaya Pelham. I am the lead advisor and director of peer student services in the College of Chemistry. Welcome everyone. Congrats on your admittance. And we have some great panelists here who are all part of the student support services programs that I run that will be able to answer questions, and I'll be moderating the chat. So if you have questions while anyone is speaking or Khurshid is facilitating with the panelists, please put it in the chat.
Yeah. So we have 3 great COC students here who are student panelists, and their names are Ben, Carolyn, and Riley. And so we also, kind of the format of how this is going to work is that we have come up with a list of questions that we're going to ask. And then if you have any other further questions, feel free to ask them at any time. And Shamaya, like she mentioned, will be moderating the chat room. So let's go ahead with a round of introductions and welcome our panelists. So who would like to go first?
All right, I don't mind taking it away. Whoops. Yeah, I don't mind taking it away. Hi, everyone. My name is Riley. I'm a third-year chemical biology major. I'm originally from Rancho Santa Margarita, so Southern California, about an hour south of Disneyland. Congrats, everyone. Yeah, thanks for being here.
I can go next. I'm Carolyn. I'm a 4th year studying chemistry. I'm from Los Angeles, California. And again, congrats on getting into Berkeley. Go Bears.
I'm Ben. I'm a 2nd year chemie major. I'm from San Diego, so another Southern California person here. And yeah, congrats to all of you who made it into Berkeley. That's quite the accomplishment.
Great, thank you so much. So we'll start off with our first question. So how did you choose UC Berkeley and the College of Chemistry? What factors contributed to your decision? Carolyn, do you want to go first?
Sure. So this was a little while ago for me, but kind of going through the college application process, I really wanted to be on the East Coast. I think Berkeley was like one of 2 schools I applied in California. I'm from California, really wanted to get out of California, but I also really wanted to do chemistry. And I think kind of like not only like the name recognition, but also like some of my friends that had gone to Berkeley who were older than me, just like getting to talk to them and hearing more about like the student experience, in addition to kind of learning more about the chemistry department, was really appealing to me. And I think also just coming on campus and seeing what Berkeley actually looks like, how it felt like being here, really kind of helped me make that decision. And even though I wanted to go to the East Coast, I'm really happy I stayed in California. I think everything that's happened with the pandemic has made me really lucky to be close to home. And I think Berkeley is just such an awesome and very unique place for people to grow in so many ways. So I'm really happy with my decision. It definitely was an easy one once I got here and once I learned more. So I'm happy for you guys too.
Ben?
So I think for me, I was also in kind of the same boat of, at first I wanted to go to the East Coast and kind of get away from, you know, where I grew up and get some new experiences. But I think one of the main things that drove me to pick coming to Berkeley over everywhere else I got in was just kind of the depth and extent of opportunities that I knew I could have here, because the academic programs here at Berkeley are, they're just incredible. That's the nature of this school and the caliber of students and faculty that we have here. So it was a place that I knew would test my limits, and being a larger school compared to some of the other places I got into, it was something that was much more open, because part of what I was looking for was, a different experience than what I grew up with, which, again, my initial instinct was just go to the other side of the country. But at a big school and a school like Berkeley, you can really find a lot of new things to experience as long as you kind of put in the effort, and you can make what you want out of your time here.
Thank you. And Riley?
All right, yeah, awesome. So I think I have always kind of wanted to go to Cal, ever since I was little. I have family up here, so I was like, I'd take tours of the campus, I'd be like, oh my gosh, it's so pretty, wow, it's so amazing. And then, once I got in, I was really fortunate, thank goodness. I came up here for Cal Day, and actually, so when I was here for Cal Day, I was touring the College of Chemistry, and they had a little open house for the College of Chemistry in particular. And at the College of Chemistry, there was peer advisors, and I ended up spending like half an hour, like an hour, talking to a couple of the peer advisors and just talking to them about, like what advice they had, what support systems there were here at the campus. And I think that's what really sold me, is the fact that there's this great support system set up for the College of Chemistry students in particular. Not only, is there an entire college devoted to chemistry, which is pretty cool, but the fact that there's peer advisors that are here to help give you support and guidance throughout the way, and there's peer tutors who are here to help you with classes and all of that, as well as the great advising staff. I think that those all kind of like really combined and just made me really confident that this is a place not only where I could thrive, but also like I could thrive with my peers and be supported by this great community. So I think that was kind of what really sold me on coming here.
I still remember Riley from Cal Day. It's pretty amazing. I talked to him and his mom for like 45 minutes, and it's amazing to see the growth, especially because that doesn't happen a lot. You might think it would, but we see so many students. So like when you remember a student, he ended up being my student, and just by talking to him at Cal Day. And so now I'm his advisor. So pretty neat.
That is neat. Great. I just want to encourage the audience, if you have any additional questions or follow-up questions, feel free to type them in the chat room, and we'll read them out loud and be happy to answer them for you. So we'll go on to our next question, which is, how was your transition from high school to college? And let's start with Carolyn.
So for me, my high school was very academically rigorous, and I was kind of expecting college to not be as academically rigorous, just because I kind of came in with the mindset like I've like already done this, like I know how to like study really hard and like work long hours, like it'll be fine. And that wasn't really the experience I had right off the bat, but that wasn't necessarily a bad thing. I think just coming to college, it's just so much more than just like getting accustomed academically. I mean, you learn how to live by yourself, you learn how to be surrounded by like completely new people, and it's like such a unique experience, and something that you can't really prepare for in a lot of ways, which is like unfortunate but also exciting. So I think for me, I guess kind of some of the main challenges was just juggling everything. So like not only school, but also like making time to meet people, to hang out with friends, knowing when to maybe say no to an extra hour in the library to like hang out with a new friend and stuff like that. So I think that was kind of the biggest adjustment for me, and something that I hadn't really had to think about in high school, just because a lot of my friends I had made quite early on. So it was just like very natural, didn't have to make the effort again. So I think that was kind of the biggest thing. But again, Cal is just such a cool experience. I mean, there's so many different people here, and I think everyone's kind of going through the same thing, which is very comforting in a lot of ways. So even though it might seem like you're the only one, not knowing what exactly to do or how to manage your time, it's very good to know that you're not alone in that experience. So I think that was a good thing for me, and Cal really helped me grow in a lot of ways, especially my first semester here.
Great, thank you. Ben?
I think I've got a pretty similar story to that. So it's a very different way of living at college than it is in high school. Because I remember, at high school, I would show up to school at 8 in the morning, right, and go through all my classes for the day, and then stick around until 5 or 6 doing whatever extracurriculars it is, and then go home to my family. But here at Berkeley, it's a very different experience. In that you're picking the times that your classes are, right? So if you want to be a morning person, you can be, but you don't always have to be. So you're in charge of your schedule a lot more, which is kind of a freedom and independence that I really appreciated having. But there was also a big shift for me in terms of like social life, because like I said, in high school, you're stuck in a building with a whole bunch of people all day long at this kind of set time period. Whereas here, we're all kind of living in the same couple buildings. So, when you go home at the end of the day, you're not leaving your friends or your classmates anymore. So that was sort of a big change for me. And just kind of, I don't know, adjusting to having maybe a little bit less alone, like solo personal time. But there's a benefit to that in just meeting new people and I don't know, interacting with a whole lot of different people. And there's a lot to learn about all the other people you're going to meet here. And then just a lot to learn of how to live on your own when you're dictating your own schedule and, making plans to do whatever it is you might want at a given point in the day. You get to decide when you're done studying for a class, right? You're not like sitting in the library waiting for your parents to pick you up. So it's a lot more independent, and it was an interesting transition for me to learn how to manage that for myself.
Oh, thank you. And Riley?
All right, yeah. So I think Carolyn and Ben did a really great job covering a lot of the kind of more lifestyle transitions. Definitely, I feel pretty much the same about that. I would say the big difference for me was, coming from a high school where I was kind of a bigger fish in a smaller pond, to suddenly, coming to Berkeley where, I look around and suddenly everyone's as amazing or, as greater than I am. That was kind of intimidating at first. I think I definitely was kind of like unsure of myself, and I was like, where do I fit in? Like, everyone's so smart, everyone's so accomplished, everyone's so awesome. I think that was definitely kind of a big worry for me, at least just transitioning again from high school to college. But I think a lot of that worry and that fear was like kind of, it was really helped soothe by the time I got to especially with my chemistry courses. A lot of my classmates, they stayed the same throughout, my couple of years, my 3 years here so far. I think, as I've gone through the process and I've realized that, a lot of the students, even if, you're not best friends with them, they're there to help you. And, everyone's really great about helping each other and supporting each other. And, if you don't understand a concept, there's someone who does, and they're more than happy to help you out with that. And I think that's something that's super great. And that's also like really helped me with my transition. It's just kind of having that knowledge that, there's people within the College of Chemistry that care about me and, that are really there to support me and help me throughout the process. I think that's really helped the transition for me.
Great, thank you so much. So we received a question. I'm gonna put the question in the chat room so everyone can see. But Ben, this might be one that would be good for you to answer. As a chemical engineering major, is it really difficult to do a minor or a double major?
Okay, yeah, so it's certainly not easy. I think is definitely the place to start, because Chemi already on its own is quite the workload, and it is difficult. And I don't want to sugarcoat that, because you're signing up for some difficult classes and a lot of work. But depending on what you might want to double major or minor in, there can be some overlap in terms of the classes that are required. So it does depend a little bit on what you want to do, in terms of like how much extra work that would be. I think it's probably something that if you take the time to kind of just look over the requirements closely, because all the department websites and whatever, they're going to have the list of all the classes that you need to take to get the major or the minor or whatever it is. So it would be important to take the time to just sit down, parse through the requirements, and figure out, how much extra work does it take, and then plan out a schedule. Because if you're really set on trying to do a double major, in particular, a minor is going to be probably less of a concern and something that is going to be doable for most people, I would imagine, if they really want to do it. But for a double major, if that's something you're considering, you really need to take the time to sit down and step through how much work that requires, and how many classes you're going to have to be juggling at one time. Because if you're looking at something where you're going to be taking 5 to 6 classes every semester, that's a really big workload, and that's something that's very hard to manage. So yeah, it's kind of hard for me to comment on a really generic, like, broad statement like that. I know it's doable, depending on what the major is. I know, like, one of my friends is doubling with material science, and she's signed up for an intense workload, but it's, I don't know, I guess she can handle it, but she's taking like at least 5 classes every semester from here on out, I think. So just like think about it and plan it out, and kind of just see what's required of you for that.
Thanks, Ben. Carolyn, Riley.
I want to say right quick, everyone, don't bombard Courtsheet with direct messages, please, and put them in the chat so everyone can see, because she can't moderate and take your direct messages. So make sure that you're clicking everyone in the chat, and just send them there. Thank you.
I was going to say, Carolyn, Riley, did you want to add anything about doing a minor or double major from your perspective?
I guess for chemical engineering, I don't really have personal experience. I think my only experience is with like friends I have who are chemical engineers, and I do know a good handful who have been able to do a material science engineering double major. I think there's a lot of overlap in the courses you have to take. So it's definitely possible, I guess. Again, as Ben was saying, probably like go into it knowing that you're going to have to take more classes than maybe you might want. I guess for chemistry, I kind of liked the flexibility in that I could, maybe take classes outside of chemistry. I was looking into doing a minor for a while, but then eventually decided to go study abroad. So I really liked the chemistry major. It was still quite rigorous, still gave me a really great survey of different topics in chemistry, but also allowed me to kind of explore my own interests and make those choices for myself. So I think chemistry was a great option for me. Definitely could have done a double major or a minor if I wanted to, but I decided that study abroad was kind of what I prioritized. But yeah, that's my experience with that.
Riley, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, so kind of just adding on to what Carolyn said about, pursuing whatever you're interested in. I think, yeah, definitely if you're interested in getting a minor in a particular field, or, a double major, there definitely it's definitely very possible and pretty, straightforward to going about doing that, especially if, you come in with AP credits. Those are pretty great. Those really help kind of reduce the number of classes you'll have to take. So I'd say, yeah, I'm doing a minor right now in toxicology, which I have like 3 or 4 friends who are also chemical biology majors who are also doing toxicology minors. So yeah, I think it really fits into my schedule, and it's also something I'm really interested in. So I think, yeah, as long as you really want to get the minor and you're interested in what you're doing, it's pretty doable. Yeah.
Great, thank you. We have a question, Maya?
Do you want to do a question in the chat, or do you want to do, because what we could do is we could have kind of spin it for everyone, because it says, what are the advantages of being a chemical engineer in the College of Chemistry? But maybe spin that so each person can kind of talk about the advantages of your major, or what your major has afforded you while being in TLC, so it's not just chemie related, but each person.
Yeah. So what are the advantages of being, I guess, Maya, how would you phrase that? Being chemical engineering?
Yeah, so I would say, what are the advantages of being, studying chem bio in the College of Chemistry, and what opportunities have come to you from that? And been same for you, I guess, with chemie, what opportunities have you had with being a chem E major? in CLC?
Sure. Carolyn, would you like to start with that one?
Yeah, so I actually came into Cal wanting to be a chemical engineering major, but kind of after, I think it was first semester sophomore year, I decided that chemistry was the better route for me. I think after first semester of sophomore year, the curriculum diverges pretty noticeably from chem bio and chem to chemical engineering. I was really interested in learning more about computer science as well as bioengineering. And I just saw that with the chemical engineering curriculum, it would just be kind of difficult to fit in those classes I wanted to take. So I think that was a really great advantage for me. And I also kind of knew that I didn't really want to go to grad school right away. So I was a bit worried about kind of how to go about that, because a lot of chemistry and chemical biology majors end up pursuing a PhD or going to med school or whatnot. And I was nervous that I wouldn't have as many opportunities, but I was actually able to figure something out and kind of pursue what I wanted to pursue. And I think by being able to take different classes like computer science and data science and bioengineering, it really made me a stronger applicant in a lot of the jobs I was applying for. So I think that was a really great kind of advantage that the chemistry major gave me, in addition to being very well suited for, you know, pursuing a graduate degree later on. So I think that was pretty awesome. And that definitely goes to show that, like, you know, any of these majors are like fantastic. I think it really just depends on like what you want for yourself. But I think just like from there, you can really make it work in any way.
Do you do research, Carolyn, Riley and Carolyn? If you do, or even Ben, if you do research too as well, with that, piggybacking on that, when did you get involved with it and how? A lot of freshmen are eager to know too, how you kind of get involved in research.
I can just continue on because I was just talking, but I think started my research position at the end of sophomore year, and I just did it for like a whole, just like all of 2019, I believe, just because I went abroad the following semester and then COVID hit. I think it was a really great thing for me to experience. I wanted to get so I wanted to get exposure to research, undergrad research. So that was really great for me. I decided that the lab that I was in, for whatever reason, wasn't necessarily what I was interested in long term. But I guess kind of in getting involved in that, it was a lot of cold emails with professors. I had some friends who had opportunities who were older than me, who kind of gave me referrals, like their PI, or just like gave me their emails, or like said that they would let me know if a spot opened for an undergrad. But I think something will come up. I think it just depends on if you really are interested in research, just like, I guess the quantity of emails you send is like, well, something will definitely happen. But if there's a specific kind of like PI or whatever in particular, then that might take a little bit more time, just depending on how many spots or how many undergrads are willing to take. But yeah, so I did mine for a whole year. I think that was kind of a good indicator that grad school wasn't really for me right off the bat. So a great experience nonetheless, definitely learned a lot, and definitely a very possible thing to get as an undergrad.
Thank you.
You want to go, Riley, about the advantages you've had and kind of how you got into research?
Yeah, sure. So I can start with let's start with the advantages I had. I think honestly, just coming to Berkeley in and of itself, it's a big name school. You know, everyone kind of knows the College of Chemistry, you know, just in graduate schools and also like in industry jobs. So I think that's really just the name brand behind it is really great. But more particularly, you know, I think just being within the College of Chemistry, again, there's like the support network specifically for College of Chemistry students. And I think that's really great, especially compared to, you know, other universities where chemistry is more of in a little department as opposed to like being the focus of an entire college. So that's definitely like, that's pretty broad. That's like, you know, for any chemistry major here. But yeah, I would say again, like just people outside the College of Chemistry and outside of Berkeley knowing what the College of Chemistry is, you know, how it operates. A lot of the professors are really famous. They're like pretty close to the tops of their field, and they're all really doing great research, great work. Yeah, so I think applying to, you know, industry jobs and stuff has been a little bit easier, or internships has been a little bit easier just because, you know, immediately just having a good background behind you puts you at, you know, the top of the pile and at a good position. I would say in terms of research, I started, I started a little bit after my first year. I spent 2 years at a lab, and so that was really great. I think, you know, some students will have research in their first year, but, you know, you shouldn't necessarily rush to get research. I think, you know, it's important to find your footing here first at Berkeley, and find your friend group and get involved, and also just kind of start taking time to peruse what you want to do with your future. Because there are like so many different research fields. It's pretty crazy. Do you want to go into like chemical synthesis or like environmental applications and stuff like that? So there's a very wide field. And so you shouldn't necessarily feel the urge to rush into it. But that being said, yeah, I started the end of my first year. I've been with the current lab I'm in for about a year and a half now. And it's been really great. I think there are a lot of supportive professors out there, as well as graduate students and all of that, who are really great, that have given me a lot of mentorship and kind of helped me decide that, I think after this, I'm probably going to go straight to graduate school, pursue a PhD, either end up as a professor in industry. And so I think, yeah, there's definitely research opportunities out there. You have to spend a little bit of time looking for them, and also just making sure you're researching what you're interested in, not just researching just to do research. It's really important to find what you're passionate about.
Thank you. Okay. Shemai, do we want to answer any more questions in the chat or continue on with the questions that we
have? So the one person, Raj, that asks about being pre-med, I don't know, are any of you pre-med on the panel? Okay, so I would say for pre-med, we don't really track pre-med requirements for students in the College of Chemistry, though we do have students that are pre-med. So it's hard to say if that's going to bump you above 13 units or not. I would recommend I would say maybe it does, but I would recommend that you kind of talk to the Career Center maybe, because they have pre-med advisors there that can advise you a little bit better than we can, because we don't really know the pre-med requirements. So yeah, I guess we can go back to you, Khurshid.
Okay, great. So our next question is, what is the best way to prepare for the College of Chemistry? And Carolyn, would you start, please?
I guess, like, in short, everyone's experience in the College of Chemistry is going to be different. Again, depending on, what you're really wanting to get out of your experience here. And I guess with that, obviously, coming in, you're coming from high school. I'm sure all of you guys did really well in high school. Obviously, you got to Berkeley, you got to the College of Chemistry, and academics are always going to be important to you in some way, shape, or form, which is awesome. Definitely something that you still want to keep, as one of your top priorities. But I think kind of a good way, or something that I wish I had kept in mind my first year, just to get better prepared, was to think about things beyond just coursework, to kind of think more deeply about, what experiences do I want to leave college with? Do I want to know more about research? Which PIs am I interested in? What kind of research do I want to get? Am I really, interested in hearing about what this grad student is doing, what my GSI is doing? Let me go talk to her and see what she's doing. I think those kind of interactions I wish I had more my first year, just to kind of get a better sense of what being in the College of Chemistry actually means. I definitely think kind of as I hit my junior year, I was like, oh shoot, I wish I had spent less time in the library, stressing over Chem 4A, and spend more time, having these very meaningful conversations that you can really only get at UC Berkeley in the College of Chemistry. And I definitely think kind of also with that, sure, you're here to study chemistry, and sure, you're here to do amazing work, but there's so much more that Berkeley has to offer, and there's such cool overlap with classes in the College of Chemistry and with classes outside of the College of Chemistry that can really give you a cool and unique perspective, just in so many different ways. So I guess with that, kind of ways to prepare, maybe obviously prioritize academics, but also think about other things that might be more qualitative, might not be as tangible as just a good grade. I think that's something that I'd wish I'd paid attention to a little bit more. And I think that would have given me kind of a more meaningful and holistic experience, at least for my first couple years. I definitely found myself making up for that kind of my last 2 years here. So definitely, you have such an amazing just breadth of resources in front of you. Definitely take advantage of it for sure.
Thank you. Ben, did you want to add?
Yeah, I think probably the best thing to do to prepare is to just kind of take the time to think about, and I know it's early for all of you, just as admitted freshmen, but I think it's worthwhile to take some time to think about kind of what you want to get, particularly out of your first year, but I suppose overall what you want to get out of a college experience, because there's a lot that you can get out of this beyond just a degree. right? There's a lot of experience, there's a lot of things that are out there to experience. And beyond all the cookie cutter things like, oh, I want to do an internship, or I want to get involved in research, or I want to get whatever GPA I want, right? There's a lot more of just things you can do. So I think it's really important to just kind of sit down and really think through what you want to get out of your first year. And, like, do you really want to get into research, or do you want to get involved with some academic organizations, honor societies, clubs, whatever it is, and just kind of think about what your goals are. Because if you have some idea, if you have just even a hint of a direction that you want to go with something, then once you actually get here to Berkeley and you start taking classes and you start getting involved in clubs, talking to professors and grad students and all that, if you have an idea of some, just even the tiniest sense of direction that you want to go, then you can kind of dive into that more and get the most out of that experience, or that set of experiences that you possibly can.
Thank you, Ben. And Riley, best ways to prepare for College of Chemistry?
Yeah, so I think, Carolyn and Ben covered quite a bit pretty well. I'd say the other thing I want to add is just, finding out what study habits work for you before you enter college is always a great idea. Are you kind of a by the books person? Do you like to listen to things, or do you like to kind of draw out, I guess, either reactions or, formulas, stuff like that? I think really finding out the kind of study method that helps you best prepare is going to be really great. Just because, I think in high school, if you put in X amount of hours for studying, you're guaranteed to do pretty well. But I think in college, it's finding out what works for you and your specific learning style is really important. The other thing I want to highlight is, again, like I think Ben touched on this really well. Again, it's like kind of finding out your why. For like, why is it that you want to study chemistry? Why do you want to, take these particular classes, and what is it that you hope to accomplish? Either in your first year and kind of more long term at the end of these 4 years. I think any college is going to be pretty difficult at times, and I think really focusing on the end goals and the why, and focusing on the reason that you're here is going to be what really helps drive you to that like finish line and helps you get through some of the rougher patches. So I think just taking the time to figure out why you want to be here and what your goals are is going to be a great benefit.
Thank you, Riley.
Sorry, do you mind if I add one more thing?
Yes.
So I think definitely what Ben said about like coming in with like having some sort of like at least like the slightest bit of direction, like that's awesome. But I think also college is a great time to like figure out what that direction is. I remember like my freshman year, I wanted to be a chemical engineering major, wanted to do like renewable energy, like wanted to go to grad school. And that's like literally not at all what I am doing right now and like what I'm graduating and like gonna do after college. And I think like those first 2 years were really crucial in figuring out exactly what I care about and like really listening to, if I don't like this class, like maybe that's not for me, like, and that's totally fine. There's so many other things that I can try out and see. And I definitely think if you like looked at my transcript first and second year, like my classes are all over the place. I took way more classes that I didn't need, ones that I, might have regretted taking long term. But I think in that sense, like being in college and being at Berkeley is just like such a unique way to figure out exactly like what it is that you want to do. And even if you don't know that, I mean, that's totally fine. You like have your whole life to figure that out. So definitely like awesome if you have a direction, but like if for some reason you realize that that's like not really where you want to go, that's totally fine too. And Berkeley is a great place to figure that out because there are so many opportunities in front of you and so many awesome resources. So definitely, I guess another thing to keep in mind for sure.
Thank you so much. So our next question is, what was it like to be a first-year student in the College of Chemistry?
And can you guys also kind of touch on, so we can kind of combine the chat too, for chemies, I guess, and just anyone, I guess all majors can speak to this. How did you adjust to the rigor of your first semester? So all panelists, so we can combine some of the questions in the chat. Ben, can you go first? Because chemies are like firing up the chat.
Yeah, okay. So, all right. So what it was like to be a first-year student? It's a bit of an overwhelming experience. I'm not gonna lie. Coming from high school where I'd spent 4 years there and kind of figured everything out. I knew what I was doing all the time. Well, not all the time, but I had a good idea of what I was doing. And then I come here to Berkeley, and, you know, everyone's on top of their game. And the classes, they're hard, and, you know, some of them move really fast. So it was definitely overwhelming at first, is really the best way to describe it. But then to tie that in with adjusting to the academic rigor and course load, it's really, I had to spend a good amount of time just kind of reflecting on, you know, my study habits, the things that I had picked up in high school that weren't really going to fly anymore in college, because it's a different environment. And I know Riley was talking a lot about like figuring out what study habits work for you, and that's something that's really important. And it's something that I think I tried to think about it the summer before coming here, and then when I actually got here, a lot of what I thought I had figured out over the summer kind of went out the window when I realized, you know, I have to really adjust my approach to some of these things. So one of the things that I think was helpful for me was just kind of talking to the people in my classes and, you know, organizing study groups and things, where I've found a group of 10 or so students who are in like roughly the same classes around roughly the same time. You know, we're not all in the same classes all at the same time, but we're kind of in similar classes, and it's nice to have that group of people to fall back on, so that, you know, those of us who are in the same classes, we know there's a resource for us, and we can kind of lean on each other when we need to. So I think that was something that was really helpful for me to adjust, is just finding the resources in other people, and, you know, in the student services here in the College of Chemistry, and just learning better study habits for myself in terms of how I was managing my time, and I guess for certain classes, spending less time, you know, just like reading textbooks and stuff, and more time trying to figure things out. And something that's worked well for me is, again, the study groups and like talking through things with other people, because there's only so much value I think that I can personally get out of just reading from a textbook and kind of trying to memorize the information. But for me, there's a lot more in working through the thought process of the applications of the material that I'm learning with other people, and, you know, being able to bounce ideas back and forth. So yeah, that was really helpful and important for me.
Riley, what was your first year student experience like?
Yeah, so honestly, I was actually pretty homesick for a majority of my first year. I think just a combination of moving away to college and, you know, not being around my family was kind of interesting. It was very different. Yeah, so I'd say, like, you know, a lot of my first year experience kind of reflects that, and I was really focused on, you know, trying to find that community here at college, because I think, you know, it's really important to not only like surround yourself with, you know, good people, but also people that, you know, inspire you and are willing to like support you through, you know, all the different times. I think that's really important. That's something that kind of really defined my first year, is just, you know, trying to get involved with as many different things as possible to try and find those groups of people that I wanted to associate with and wanted to, you know, be friends with and form these connections with. I think something I wish I did was, you know, just get involved a little bit earlier. Sorry, this is like a little bit of a side note, but I highly recommend, like, there are so many different clubs at Berkeley and even in the College of Chemistry. Highly recommend joining them, meet new people, super great. But yeah, I think, you know, again, just finding that community. I think once you have a group of people that will support you, you know, all the studying and all of, like, you know, academics and stuff, that kind of falls into place, and they'll help you, you know, study for things that you might have not, that you might not understand fully. So yeah, I think it's really important to just find that group first. In terms of rigor, I would say, yeah, it's pretty rigorous. You know, fortunately, there are, again, support systems. You know, the College of Chemistry has their peer tutoring. So, like, you know, students who have taken the class will help you, you know, kind of navigate problems that you're having difficulty with. So I spent a lot of time with that. Again, just also like making friends, and, like, you know, your friends are more than happy to help you understand things, because everyone's really smart. So everyone understands, you know, different concepts, and they're really great at explaining, and they're always willing to help, which is something that's also really cool. But yeah, I think, yeah, the other thing too is, you know, get used to asking for help. I think I was always kind of a little bit shy, you know, for asking for help. I was like, oh, you know, I don't want to weigh anybody down or whatever. But I think everyone's super helpful, and everyone's willing to give their time to help explain topics, and help to help you explain, and to help you understand, and do well in the material. So I think that's something that's also really important.
Thank you. Carolyn, what was it like to be a first-year student in the COC for you?
The first year is definitely going to be humbling in a lot of ways, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I definitely think I came into Berkeley. I'm very much an independent studier. I like kind of doing things on my own. I have a lot of pride over my work, and I think that was fine in high school, but I definitely think in college, you can benefit so much from your peers. I definitely think, shameless plug, peer student services, peer tutoring was awesome. I think my second year when I was taking organic chemistry, that really, really helped me get through and really kind of made me enjoy organic chemistry more than just like a difficult class I had to take. And I think being able to talk to someone else who had been through the class maybe a semester before made the experience a lot more real and made it seem less intimidating. I felt more comfortable kind of asking a stupid question or admitting that I was behind on lecture to a peer rather than to like a GSI or professor. So that was a really great resource. I think there are also so many other resources which you'll probably learn about when you get to Cal, but definitely taking advantage of them is a great way to kind of overcome maybe some of the initial rigor, the initial stress, and kind of feeling overwhelmed academically your first year. I definitely think, as Riley and Ben mentioned, looking to your peers, definitely finding those friends or people that you can trust to study with, help you out in times of need, talk through problems with, is a great way to not only make friends but also to really stay up to date in your classes and really feel confident and comfortable about what you're learning. I definitely think in high school, like some of the classes I would take, I would only need to know them for like that particular year I was taking them, and they wouldn't really become relevant in future years. But in chemistry, a lot of kind of topics build on each other. I know like in my inorganic class, a lot of what I learned in organic chemistry is being kind of applied. So definitely keeping in mind and learning those topics more than just for an exam. Was something I had to realize, and definitely something that talking with peers and whatnot and really getting down to the core of it made easier. Sorry, that was kind of a lot. I also think just like in general for first year, I know a lot of questions are asking about like internships and research and whatnot. I guess with that, I think if you're really interested in doing a particular internship or a particular kind of research experience, definitely go for it. It's not necessarily like juniors and above or sophomores and above. I mean, you definitely can get involved. But I guess with that, just always take it with a grain of salt. I mean, you are coming from high school, there's a lot more transition outside of academics and outside of, I guess, kind of professional, like career development and whatnot that you're having to kind of endure. So definitely by no means feel pressure to pursue an internship or whatnot. I definitely think the experience and like what you're actually getting out of it is more important than having it on your resume, especially for like future job search or future grad school applications and whatnot. So definitely keep that in mind. I definitely knew that I came into Cal really eager to do 101 things just like I did in high school, but definitely taking a step back, taking the time to think about what those experiences what you want those experiences to look like will be way more worthwhile in the end, for sure.
Thank you so much. So we know that community is really important in building that. How did you find community at UC Berkeley and in the College of Chemistry? Any advice for our newly admitted freshmen? Ben, would you like to start?
Yeah, I can start.
Okay.
So really, the best way to find community here is really just to talk to people. And I know that sounds like a pretty obvious statement, but sometimes when you're in the thick of it, you don't really realize the implication, the actual importance of that. So you can go to class, right? You're going to end up in your lab class. I think the Chem 4 lab is like 3 or 4 hours long or something. So once a week you're spending 3 to 4 hours locked in a room with 20 or so other people. And depending on what you're doing, sometimes you're going to have some downtime, and you can just like talk to those people and get to know them just from that kind of happenstance of ending up locked in a room with all these people. Once you start talking to them, getting to know them a bit, you can extend that connection outside of that one lab classroom. So it really is, I think, just a matter of putting yourself out there and making the effort to make these connections with people, because you're going to be running into a lot of people here. You know, there's going to be lab classes that are smaller, you know, lectures that are huge, you know, 200 people in a room or whatever, even more depending on what classes you're taking. And it's just showing up is like, it's not going to make that sort of deeper connection and a real sense of community. But if you put in the effort to try and meet people and get to know people, again, just from like crossing paths with them in a class, that's a start. And then, yeah, you really just have to put in the effort and talk to people. And because there's this shared experience that you're all going to have of, you know, transitioning from high school to college and all the major life changes that are kind of accompanied with that, there's a solid foundation there for forming that community if you're putting in the effort to kind of find your people, so to speak.
Thank you. Riley?
All right, yeah. So I guess I'll start with just first off getting involved with the College of Chemistry. So I think just to add to what Ben said about making friends with like the people sitting around you in lecture, that's super great. Definitely underestimated. I actually met my roommate just who sat down next to me on the first day of class and like, hi, I'm so-and-so. I'm like, cool. All right. And now we're friends. So it's super awesome. But I think you know, beyond that, there's a lot of clubs within chemistry. I think there's there's a variety of clubs that do a lot of social events. So there's an American Chemical Society. There's like a biofuels technology club. That's super cool. And I'm also part of like a pre-professional chemistry fraternity. And so I think getting involved with these organizations, you know, is also a great way to meet peers, you know, as well as, you know, older students who might have a little bit more experience. That's really great. So I think, yeah, doing things like that within the College of Chemistry is great to find your community here. I would say like outside of chemistry, I'm also involved with like orientation, and as well as like a Berkeley Engineers and Mentors group. So I think, you know, looking for clubs outside of the College of Chemistry is also great too, and it just helps you like, you know, expand your network past just chemistry. I think, yeah, the biggest piece of advice I would have is, you know, don't be too nervous to talk to people. Like, you know, when everyone gets here, everyone's kind of nervous. Everyone wants to make friends, and everyone's really friendly. I haven't met a not friendly person at in the College of Chemistry, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, so I'd just say, you know, don't be nervous, just get out there and like, yeah, get involved. I think that's the best way to kind of meet people in general.
Carolyn?
So kind of going back to what Ben was saying about, you know, those 4-hour first year labs, well, second year chem or 12A and 12B organic chem, those are 5-hour labs, so even more quality time with people that you might not know. And actually my lab partner for the first kind of course in that organic chem sequence is like one of my best friends now. We're going to be living together in the city next year. We bake sourdough bread together, and we just like literally we're spending 10 hours a week in a lab together, and just got really close just because like we had, you know, all this free time and we're just running our reactions, we're lost, confused, the whole work. So that was a really cool way. And as Riley mentioned, really great opportunities within the College of Chemistry for extracurriculars, for clubs, peer student services, really great ways. But also outside of Cal, I was a part of the SAGE mentorship organization, which is a campus-wide org. We basically mentor elementary school students at traditionally like underprivileged or underrepresented elementary schools in the surrounding Berkeley and Oakland areas. And that was a really great way to meet friends outside of College of Chemistry. And I was lucky enough to have a lot of mutual friends coming in. So I think kind of just like growing that network and expanding that was really great too. I think a lot of those friends found their communities through a number of, you know, their own passions and their own kind of interests. So definitely with Cal being such a big school, I think at times you can feel very alone and very isolated just because of the number of people around you. But I think kind of on the flip, because there are so many people, there are just so many opportunities and a lot of great kind of experiences that you have yet to try out and check out. So I definitely think like super cool that COC has so many great ways to kind of get involved and to meet people, but also Berkeley as a whole. So definitely keep that in mind. And I hope that you guys are able to have in-person labs in the fall, because I mean, even though 4-hour labs suck, you can make some of your best friends through kind of the highs and lows of doing lab experiments as an 18-year-old. So hopefully you guys get that experience.
Great, thank you so much. So I'm going to combine two questions into one. If you could share the best opportunities to take advantage of during your first year and why, and your most challenging experience in your first year. Ben, would you like to start?
Yeah, I can start. So in terms of best opportunities to take advantage of, there's nothing in particular that's kind of coming to my mind here right now, other than just like there are a lot of opportunities and it's a matter of going out and finding them and, you know, looking at what's out there and kind of what interests you and what tickles your fancy. And if there's something you hear about, you know, whether it's a class you want to take or I don't know, you talk to a grad student and hear something cool about the research they're doing, whatever it ends up being, or, you know, social clubs, academic clubs, there's a lot that Berkeley has to offer. And I think really it's hard for me to say, oh, you know, what's the blanket best opportunity for someone to take advantage of first year, because I think it really depends on what you want to do. So if you just hear about something that sounds cool, just chase after it and see what happens, because in your first year you do have maybe a little bit more flexibility than you have further down the road, because, you know, further down the road when you're picking up maybe more research or a part-time job or harder classes or something, it can become a little bit harder to explore those things. So I think first year, probably the best opportunities are just whatever sounds interesting to you. And then if you find something that really speaks to you that you really like, you can incorporate that into your plan going forward and just, you know, make that a piece of your college experience. And then in terms of my most challenging experience, I would say there was a point in the spring of freshman year. I was in, you know, a fairly heavy course load at the time, and there was one weekend where I was volunteering, running a science competition out in Hayward, I think it was. So my entire Saturday was shot, right? I woke up at like 5:30 or 6 to, you know, go take an Uber to this science competition. I spent my whole day there and I didn't get back until 10 or 10:30 that night. And, you know, normally, you know, just like losing one day in a weekend is not bad. You know, I had a good time. But the thing is, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I had midterm. So I lost a fair amount of studying time. So the week before that, I had to cram a lot more in, and, you know, I had to take a bit less time hanging out with my friends and a bit more time preparing for back-to-back midterms the following week, which was a fairly stressful experience for me. There was a lot of material to get through. And I mean, in the end, I didn't do as well in those midterms as I wanted, which is how it goes sometimes. But, you know, looking back on it, there isn't anything I would do differently about that, because I got a good experience out of, you know, running that competition, and what, 1 or 2 midterm grades that aren't up to, you know, what I'd like to see from myself. Who cares? It really, in the long run, it's absolutely inconsequential. So even as difficult and stressful as it was overall a good experience for me.
Thank you. Riley, best opportunities to take advantage during the first year and your most challenging experience?
Yeah, so I'll say the best opportunity to take advantage of, again, there are so many different organizations, clubs. I keep saying it over and over, but like y'all get involved, like find your passion. That's really what's going to help drive you. And I think that's also what really helps, make these connections. And the reason I say that is because this ties into my biggest struggle, tying it all together, meshing very nicely. I'd say the biggest struggle I had when I came to Cal was the fact that I was really shy. I was really nervous. I know, big surprise. I'm not shy or nervous anymore. But I'd say I was really like in my own head about, again, everyone being so amazing. I was like, dang, do I deserve to be here? Am I like good enough to be here? And I think, a lot of that is pretty. I'd say it's pretty common. At some point, again, just being surrounded by so many awesome people, you do feel kind of like, oh no, where do I fit into all this? So I just think that was kind of my biggest struggle, is just making sure, I was comfortable being here and I was confident in myself and all that. Yeah, sorry. Yes. Okay. So I think, yeah, again, that just ties into like taking advantage of these opportunities to like meet other people and to meet, these these friends who will become your support system is really important. I think that's like the biggest in your freshman year, is to just get involved as much as you can. I think, again, like academics are very important, but especially in your first year, like personal development is what's really going to help, fuel you and set you up for like a good, successful college career. So I think that's really important.
And do you have a challenging experience?
So I guess we can start with best opportunities. So I have a couple. I think one of them is kind of just the fact that you're a freshman. I mean, you kind of have the like choice to do everything you want to do, but also really the bare minimum. I think being a freshman and being at your first semester of college, I mean, you're allowed to take like the minimum number of units and just have all the time to yourself, just to meet people, like explore the Bay Area. Like there's no pressure to, get an internship, get research, apply for jobs, think about grad school. Like that pressure should be like more for like your junior or senior year, if that. So I think that's just a great opportunity that I kind of wish I took more advantage of, for sure. I think another thing is obviously College of Chemistry is an amazing school, really well known, but also there are so many other really well-known programs that Berkeley has. I had the chance to take a computer science course my freshman year, which I actually hated, but kind of propelled me to take a couple of other ones that I loved. Besides computer science, I mean, there's Haas, business school, the econ department's awesome, but also like the English department, the political science department. So having that opportunity to kind of explore beyond the College of Chemistry as something really unique to your first and second years when you have more flexibility in your schedule. I guess another thing, I'm trying to think. Maybe that was all I had to say. I'll mention it if it comes back to me. But I guess for my most challenging experience, I definitely think was knowing how to realize my limits in terms of classes and in terms of academics. I remember there was one kind of week in the semester where I had like a terrible allergic reaction, like broke out in hives, missed so many classes, like ended up going to the hospital. It was like I had a midterm the next day, which is like a complete disaster. And I think I was really bogged down, like mentally, physically, emotionally from that whole experience, and kind of realizing like, okay, like things like this can happen. Like I can't plan it. I can't, prevent it in any way. So if I know that, sometimes this could happen again, maybe taking like 4 to 5 technicals isn't a good idea. Like maybe I should kind of tone it down next semester. So that was a really good lesson, a really hard one for me to learn. I think another one was kind of knowing exactly when to stop studying. That was really challenging for me. I think in high school, my kind of way to go was just to study until I felt tired, and just to keep on going until I felt like just to study even though I was feeling tired, and to keep on going until I felt like confident enough that I could do well on the test. I think realizing that sleep and your own like personal health can be even more important. I think once I realized that, my midterm grades actually started going up because I had a more normal sleep schedule, was able to be more alert in my lectures, which, crazy ended up being a great thing for me. So I think just kind of knowing your limits like academically is something that you're only going to be able to figure out by going through the experience. But, if it ends up being challenging or difficult, you're not alone, and that's totally fine. You'll be able to work through it. So, yeah.
Carolyn, can you say a little bit about what you're going to do after you graduate and kind of how you came, so it's a little couple of questions in the chat about internships and, research and all that stuff like that. So just kind of speaking to how you kind of came into your position that you're going to do now when you graduate.
So after I graduate, I'm going to be working at AbbVie, which is a pharmaceutical company. I'm working at their South San Francisco location. AbbVie used to be a part of Abbott Pharmaceuticals, which has been around for years. If you've seen any ads about Humira, AbbVie was the first monoclonal antibody drug manufacturer for Humira, so really cool. And I'll be working as an associate scientist in their oncology early biologics department, which is awesome. Something that I'm really fortunate to have gone, especially in these like crazy COVID times. I guess in terms of like internships and research, I think after my first year, I ended up doing kind of a summer program through the Socializing Dye Center, which is a really cool kind of, I guess, like thing that Berkeley has to offer if you're interested in entrepreneurship in any way, shape, or form. I went to Portugal, worked at a startup accelerator, learned a lot about, I guess, entrepreneurship and startups and whatnot. Actually, another kid who graduated last year, who was a chemical engineering major, who I'm really good friends with. He and I were on the same startup team. So another COC colleague. So that was awesome. Gave me really great experience in just in that realm. Also allowed me to go abroad. Summer after sophomore year, I did research in my lab. That was a physical chemistry lab. It's the Pines lab, a lot of NMR, spectroscopy. You'll definitely learn those terms after your second year at Cal in the College of Chemistry. Really awesome. My advisor was great. He was so brilliant, really driven, and really there to help me. Met a lot of other cool College of Chemistry students. So 10 out of 10 experience. I also took another computer science class that summer. So that kind of made me more interested in computer science. So I think going into my junior year, I wanted my internship to be some sort of overlap with chemistry, computer science, bioengineering, pharmaceuticals, drug discovery, like something in that realm. So I went abroad, which probably wasn't the best idea, just in kind of getting my foot in the door in those types of opportunities, but I wanted to go to Amsterdam. So I said, why not? This is the time to do it. Let's just do it. Was really stressed about getting an internship that summer. I felt the pressure that I needed to get something, and if I didn't, I wouldn't be able to get a job, which is a really bad mindset to have. If you have an internship, that's awesome, but if you don't, like, who's to say that you need to have one? There's no rule book, there's no like set of guidelines. But I ended up getting really lucky. I worked at a startup based in Boston, and I was a computational chemistry intern. It was entirely remote. I was one of, I believe, like 3 interns. The team was a team of 10, very early stage. They just launched, I think, a couple weeks ago, which was really cool. And I think that was a really unique opportunity for me, just to learn, more of the ins and outs of startups, the ins and outs of drug discovery, and also kind of apply my computer science skills in like a more real life context. And I think that opportunity in particular really helped me in my job search process. I wanted to do something very similar, but wanted to have more of a wet lab background in my role, and wanted to work at a bigger company. So kind of through many months of kind of doing informational interviews with recent grads, reaching out to different recruiters on LinkedIn, applying to countless jobs. And I ended up being referred to this job, and I'm really excited about it. As I mentioned before, I knew grad school wasn't for me, at least right after Cal, and I was really looking to get that industry opportunity. I had taken a class in the bioengineering department titled Introduction to Drug Delivery, which was awesome and really kind of solidified my desire to go into pharmaceuticals and to go into drug discovery and whatnot. So if you're interested in that, I highly recommend that class. But yeah, so that was kind of my journey. By no means did I have like a super impressive internship. I had like, a standard GPA, like nothing to brag about necessarily.
That's good to say. Say that again, the GPA, that
yeah,
GPA.
GPA, literally nothing really to brag about. I mean, it was like competitive enough, but not something that, was like the forefront of my application. I really think it was just my experiences, like as a peer advisor in the College of Chemistry, talking about the mentorship program that we had, and my experiences through that, being part of the SAGE mentorship project, being a part of my research lab, and being really honest in what I got from my college experience, even beyond the classroom. Very few times in any of my interviews did I mention a class I took, did I mention like my GPA, really none of that. It was more just about kind of the more like qualitative experiences I had. And I think in that, when I was going through my job search, I was feeling a bit regretful that I hadn't had more of those interactions, that I had spent too much time, especially my earlier years, in the library cramming for a midterm that, I mean, probably didn't even matter in the long run. I don't think the company hired me because of my GPA. I hope they did it. And so I think in that—
They did not. I did your reference and she did not ask about GPA. I will tell you that.
Yeah.
She asked about experiences. How does she work in teams?
Exactly.
Collaborative, things like that. So you want to make sure that you're like well-rounded outside of your academia as well.
Exactly. And I think in that, like, in some of my other interviews, I didn't have the specific background that they were looking for. I didn't really have experience in chemical engineering. My internship wasn't necessarily applied to a lot of wet lab positions, which is totally fine. But I think like that was a really big wake-up call. Like, sure, experience is awesome, but when it comes down to it, some companies may want really specific experience. And I think if you just kind of say like, okay, I'm going to get any experience, that might not be necessarily the best for you, especially if you know exactly where you want to go in the long run. So I think for me that ended up working out. But yeah, again, GPA, literally not the end all be all. I think if you would ask me this when I was a senior in high school, I would have been like, are you kidding me? Like, GPA is everything. Like, I got into Cal for a reason. Like, what are you talking about? But seriously, not that big of a deal. But yeah, so definitely a crazy experience. Sad to leave Cal. I had my last day of college, or like last class of college today, so wild. But yeah, I think Cal sets you up for a breadth of awesome opportunities. And again, GPA is not the most important thing. Definitely don't like fail your classes. Like, definitely go to class and like pay attention, because like you can learn so much. But you know, if you get a bad grade on a midterm, like as Ben said, who cares? Like, no one's gonna ask you in like 10 years. So yeah.
Thank you. Riley, Ben, did you want to add anything about internships and your plans for after graduation?
I could say like plans post-graduation. I think as of right now, it's looking pretty much like grad school. Just because, you know, fortunately I've had time in the wet lab, you know, I really enjoy the whole like scientific process, like coming up with a problem, fixing it, troubleshooting it along the way. That's super great. Yeah, I would say I guess a lot of that has been shaped by, again, like it all goes back to research. I think, you know, I was very fortunate that I was able to get research that I was interested in. And I think, again, that's like super important because, you know, like any experience is great because, you know, maybe at worst, you know, you find out what you don't like, and at best, you find out what you really like. So I'd say just, you know, making sure you're passionate about what you're doing. And that really comes through, you know, in interviews and stuff like that, just like, you know, understanding what you're doing and really, again, having this passion for it and having this understanding is what's really gonna like bump you to the next level. So I think, yeah, because of like all of the great mentorship I've gotten and stuff, and you know, again, like I'm really passionate about the project I've been working on. I think I'm like pretty confident that grad school is for me, and you know, Berkeley really helped set me up for it. So fingers crossed.
Great. Ben?
Yeah, I don't really have anything to say to this because I am just a second year. I'm still figuring things out. So I guess the most input that I have on this is there's plenty of time to figure these sorts of plans out. And I'd wager that for most of you, your plans are going to change at some point. Maybe in a small way, maybe in a big way. But when you actually get here and start doing things, you might end up shuffling some things around because you'll maybe one day, you know, some new experience or new opportunity is going to fall right in front of you, and you'll just think, you know, this wasn't part of my plan at first, but it sounds really cool and it's something I really want to go after. So you might kind of push the initial plan aside to make room for something new. So I don't have solid plans yet. I'm still kind of going with the flow and feeling things out and trying to figure out, you know, what feels right for me.
Great, thank you. How do you manage your time and find balance between studying and socializing, and how much time do you spend on studying?
So I guess I can start with this. In terms of managing my time, for me, something that has been helpful is just sort of setting not exactly deadlines, but sort of concrete expectations for myself of, there are things that have deadlines of homework assignments and, whenever my midterms are, just kind of trying to stay cognizant of that and how much I feel, I need to do to be to stay at a level that I'm comfortable with, just like staying on top of everything to the extent that I think I need to. For me, it was really just a matter of writing it. I've got a whiteboard over on the other side of my room right now that's got deadlines and stuff written up on it. So for me, that's something that was very helpful in terms of managing my time, of just having clear expectations for myself and working to hold myself accountable for, what I need to learn, regardless of like how much I actually need to study for an exam, like regardless of exam scores and things, just being accountable to myself and saying, I have this much time to do XYZ, and I can, knowing that expectation of that I'm placing on myself of this much time, I know I can decide at that point, like, okay, I'm comfortable spending however many hours out of this day working on this one class, and then after that, I'm calling it and I'm going to do something else with my time that I'd rather be doing that's going to be more worthwhile for me. So yeah, in terms of managing time and balance, it was just setting clear expectations for myself. Between studying and socializing, sometimes those just end up getting mixed, which is not the most efficient way to do things, but it doesn't mean it's bad. So like sometimes, in study groups, right, you meet up with a bunch of people from a class and you start out on topic and everyone's like hyper focused and doing everything that they want to get done. And then 20 minutes later, you're just laughing and telling jokes and stuff. And that's how it goes sometimes. So maybe that's not for everyone, but for me, that was something for a good balance of studying and socializing, of just having that kind of close connection with friends who are also working through the same things with me. And then how much time do I spend studying? I'm not good at estimating how much time I spend on things, and it's something that also varies a lot. So there will be times where I spend a very minimal amount of time studying, because whether I have, other obligations or I just don't need to at the moment, I don't really know how to explain that any better. But it's something that really varies wildly for me from week to week, which I don't know, it works for me. It may not work for everyone else, but it works for me in terms of just feeling good about how much work I'm doing, and also feeling good about how much time I'm having to relax and enjoy myself.
Thank you. Riley, Carolyn?
I can go. So I guess for studying versus socializing, I can speak specifically about dead week. So at Cal, we have like a week before finals called dead week, where we have the whole week to study and whatnot. There aren't any classes. A lot of times there are review sessions. And I think my first semester at Cal, I thought that meant I had to be in the library every waking hour of the day. And it was quite miserable. As you can imagine, I don't think the human brain can even focus for more than like 2 hours at a time. So I have no idea what I was doing at the library for like 10 hours, like definitely not productive work. So that was not the best thing. And I definitely miss out on a lot of socializing, because after that I had finals and then I left. I didn't see my friends for like a month. So it was quite sad leaving without having like said goodbye to a lot of like my new friends at school. So the next semester I definitely made more of a point to stop studying when the sun went down, just because I'm really not someone who studies at night. I get really distracted, I get really tired, and then I start snacking and it doesn't end up working for me. So I just said like, okay, after the sun goes down, like I'm leaving the library, that's it. And I also made a point to take a break after every 2.5 hours or so, even if it meant like walking around, using the bathroom, getting a snack, talking to a friend, whatever it was, just so I could stay more focused and also, see something that wasn't like my computer screen. I definitely think another thing was I started to actually plan my social activities first and then kind of work my study schedule around that, which probably isn't the best way to go about it. But I think for me, I definitely need deadlines. So if I know that I have something at 6 p.m., it'll make me more focused during those like 2 hours before. So I knew like, okay, like if I'm gonna have dinner at 6, like I really need to get this thing done, and I won't, take phone breaks. I won't, be more distracted and like search on my computer. So I kind of started doing that. Take that as you will. Has definitely had some a good success rate for me, but also has kind of gone poorly. So I guess it kind of depends on like my mental state. But definitely for like dead weekends in particular, or just studying in general. If you have a midterm, don't feel like you need to use every waking moment to study for that midterm, because oftentimes you'll end up more tired, kind of more bogged down, and probably won't even retain information as well, which is kind of reversing all of the hard work you were doing in the first place. So yeah, I think that was a good thing for me. As Ben said, also going to bed when I was tired was also a good thing for me too. I think Cal is a cool place where like everyone here is fairly motivated. So I never really had issue finding a friend to study with. And I think it was good to keep each other accountable and to have someone else be like, all right, like we've been here for a while, like let's move locations, like let's go take a break, let's, do something else. So I think having like a study buddy or whatnot was really good for me too.
Great, thank you. Riley?
Yeah, so I'd say I think studying and socializing, the lines get very blurred very quickly. I think a lot of the times I spent the most productive hours I spent studying would be like when I was studying with my friends. Like we would go to the library and there's like these giant chalkboards or these giant whiteboards, and so we'd go up and we'd like take turns explaining different lessons and different either mechanisms for reactions or different equations to each other, to really make sure we all understood them and were able to like kind of explain it, because I think that's what helps me study the best, is when I'm able to explain it. So I think, yeah, I think being with friends is great because you are getting work done and you are being productive. And it's also just, it helps take some of the edge off. Like, you don't feel like you're just like squirreled away in your room, just, studying. You feel like you're getting out, you're getting some social time. It's also really great. I think after we would study in the library, we'd all go out to dinner. And so that was super awesome. Even if it's just dining hall food, it is still just definitely like a nice break. And I think that helps kind of, I study, but I feel like I'm not studying, and I don't feel like I'm like grinding away day in and day out. I think it also, again, it really helps make this connection with these friends. So that's really great. Yeah, I think, everyone kind of studies differently. Sometimes, I study by myself, just because, I find that works better. And so in that case, I'd still try to make a point to either meet up with my friends at some point in the library just to kind of quickly review stuff, or just go out and grab dinner with them. I'll just say, oh, like, can you meet me over by the dining halls and, half an hour, and then I'd be there and we'd all have some time to hang out, de-stress a little bit. And I think that's really great. In terms of how much time I spend studying, I would say on any given normal week, I would say not more than like, I'd say maybe 2 to 3 hours a night, not more than that. I think, yeah, I think in total, yeah, not more than like 20 hours a week. Just because at a certain point, like I know that I don't know something, and I either got to turn to one of my friends and ask for help, or I just kind of got to bend on the fact that nobody else knows what's going on either. But yeah, I think at a certain point, you just have to kind of just do the best you can, and it's not worth sacrificing sleep or worrying too much about the outcome of midterms. Because like the theme of tonight has been like you're not gonna be asked for your midterm grade on like a Chem 4A midterm 10 years from now. It's just not that big of a deal. So yeah, don't sweat it. Just have a good time. Spend time with your friends.
Thank you. And then we'll go into our final question. What academic programs have you utilized, such as peer advising, COC peer tutoring, student learning center?
I can go ahead. Oh, sorry. So I have used peer tutoring quite a number of times. As I mentioned before, it was a really great tool for me. And I think we're really lucky in the College of Chem that we have peer tutors. I know my friends in other majors often struggle to find people to help them with their classes outside of their GSI. So definitely really cool that we have tutors at our disposal for free. So that was great. Chem Scholars is another thing that the College of Chemistry offers, which I'm sure you'll hear about more in classes. That was really great too, especially for some of the bigger introductory chemistry classes. So for organic chemistry, that was really helpful for me. For the SLC, I believe I was a part of a study group that was organized with the SLC for Math 53, which is multivariable calculus, so one of the lower division math requirements. That was a great way for me to meet people outside of College of Chemistry. Also offered some added support, which was really great. It was Fridays from 3 to 5 p.m., which kind of sucked, but I think it ended up being worth it in the long run. So that was great. I guess outside of that, I believe I used peer advising maybe a handful of times my freshman year. I was still very on the fence about chemistry or chemie, so it was really helpful to talk to someone who had been through it, or at least who had gone, had maybe a similar dilemma as me. So that was really great. I think talking to students is the best way also to find out about like cool classes. I think I really enjoyed a lot of conversations I've had with people who've come to my advising hours, giving them some insight about my favorite classes. So if anything, just go and ask them like, what's the best class you're taking at Cal or whatnot. So yeah.
Thank
And
you.
I'll say SLC means Student Learning Center, which is kind of like a hub of tutoring on campus. It's pretty bigger than our program in the College of Chemistry, but College of Chemistry is more tailored to the classes that you take in CLC, whereas SLC, it has a broader range of classes that they tutor for. So yeah, do some research on that as well.
Great. Ben, Riley, did you have anything else to add on that question?
Yeah, I've got a little bit to add. So I've used the peer advising and peer tutoring we have here a couple times. For advising, particularly freshman year, that was something that I showed up, I don't know, a couple times and just asked the people there kind of for insight about course scheduling and, like, at what point do I need to be taking whatever course it was I was thinking about at the time. Because it's really good insight to have from people who have kind of been in the trenches as well. They went through it a year or two or however many before. So they can speak from their personal experience of being in those classes and what the experience is like and kind of what the workload is like and what it takes to balance that with whatever else you want to be doing. So that was really helpful insight for me. And then the peer tutoring we have is great. Just shameless self-promotion. I'm working as a peer tutor. We're all great. It's a really great resource, again, for students who have been in the trenches and taken, all the same classes that you new freshmen will be taking. And we can all provide a lot of good advice, I guess, and just kind of perspective on, getting through those classes, the difficult classes you take in, your first couple of years here. So that's all I've got.
And Riley, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, so just really quick, I think just to kind of recap what both Ben and Carolyn have said, I think peer advising is really great, especially in the first couple of years when you're trying to figure out, what you want to exactly focus on in your future and, what classes you might want to take to help you get to a certain goal. So that's really great, especially when you're, again, just starting. It's great guidance. Peer tutoring is really awesome, especially for the chemistry courses, because the College of Chemistry has its own special brand of chemistry. And so all of the the peer tutors have taken these classes and they know what's going on and they're really great at, simplifying things down and explaining it in it's a less intimidating setting. Like, oh gosh, the GSIs and the professors sometimes are a little scary, but the peer tutors are super awesome because they're super friendly. And then lastly, SLC tutoring is great. I use that particularly for math and physics, because they're able to offer a lot more, a greater range of times for those subjects, and they've also just have a little bit more of an established program. They have kind of adjunct professors who will help. They're kind of in charge of tutoring, so their job is to kind of help you with the program and with the courses you're taking. So I think SLC is really great for non-chemistry things, particularly physics, again, math. I use them for English help, for writing essays. They're super great. So yeah, I think there's a very wide range of resources that are available to kind of any question you would have. There's someone able to take care of you and help you out there.
Great, thank you. And with that, we will wrap up our session. I hope you found this session informative. I wanted to say thank you to my wonderful colleague, Shemaya, for moderating the questions and the chat room and helping facilitate this session. Also wanted to send a thank you to Ben, Riley, and Carolyn for your time and your insight and your
Thank you.
experiences. That was super informative. And thank you to everyone else for joining us. You know, we hope to see you in the fall and join the College of Chemistry. So thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Bye. Have a good evening.
Bye-bye.